I was looking in my email for it, and I couldn't find it. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm creative. I'm creative.
Okay.
I'll get it going. I've done this once or twice.
No worries.
Yes. As Cheri, not Sherry or
I'll
Cheri.
just correct you.
Cheri just absolutely is like, this guy is so not pro. So not pro.
Hey, I've been there. I've been there having technical difficulties.
Oh,
It's not fun.
no, not fun at all. It is stressful.
And it always happens right when you're trying to go live, It's
All right,
the worst.
let's do this thing, shall we? Hold on. We need some music here. Where's the intro? Mountains of central British Columbia. To you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show and our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on KPNL Radio, Revolution Radio, and TalkStream Live. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Now, tonight's guest I got to meet down in San Francisco in early 2020. Yes, remember when 2020 was actually starting off to be a good year? Well, a week later, they shut everything down. But nonetheless, I got to meet Cheri Arellano, and I got her name right for the absolute first time on the first poll, and I am going to fist pump right now for that. Yes. Anyway, Cheri is a spiritual healer. She's a divine interventionist, intuitive. She is somebody whose job and mantra in the world is to help heal people and the planet. She had an experience back in 2001 that really made a profound difference on her own spirituality and the way she looks at life. Tonight, we're going to hear that story about what happened and what she's doing to make a difference on this beautiful planet. Cheri, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks so much for having me on tonight. I'm excited.
What a beautiful intro. What a beautiful intro.
It was so impromptu. It was beautiful.
I know. You didn't think I could pull that off, but I totally did. I totally did. So for our listeners who are tuning in late, the reason why this show is starting a little bit later than normal, a half hour later, as a matter of fact, is because I had a beautiful Microsoft update. So when I walked into the studio, I usually get in here around 7:30, 7:40 Pacific time, and I walk into the studio, and I put my computers on, and I start setting everything up for the show. Usually it takes me a few minutes. Well, all of a sudden, my one computer that runs all of the audio, it started getting really, really slow. And I was like, come on, let's just get it through the show. And I know that idiotic Microsoft update is coming. And I could barely move my mouse. That's how slow my computer turned out. So it forced me to do the update. And then, this is about 8:05 Pacific now, out of nowhere. And so I'm like, okay, well, the update on my other computer only took about 10 minutes. So this one should be quick. It wasn't quick. It was an hour and 15 minutes. I didn't even know we were going to be doing a show, but here we are. So I apologize for being late. Don't blame old Davey. Blame Microsoft. And now we're going to concentrate on this great show that we have tonight with Cheri Arellano. Or if you want to roll the tongue, I can't even roll my tongue right now. Arellano. There we go. Cheri, for our audience members who may not know who you are, let's hear your story. What was your life growing up before the big change in 2001?
Well, that's a big question. So I grew up in Florida, your favorite place. I know you have a lot of fans out that way. And I grew up a pretty normal kid, spent a lot of time on the beach and loved going to the beach. We went, almost every weekend. And when I hit my mid-20s, I realized, like, there's more to this life than, what I was doing down there. And I decided to move clear across the country to the West Coast and move to Ashland, Oregon, which was like a culture shock for me. But it was, one of the best moves that I ever made, and my life dramatically changed. And then after being there for a short while, I moved down to Los Angeles and started my career as a graphic designer. And prior to that, I was doing photography in a commercial studio. I was trained as a professional photographer. And and that's where I met my husband.
Good-looking
Mark,
guy. Very good-looking
guy. Who you mentioned. And we actually met. He applied to be my roommate, of all things.
Oh, what a sly dude. What a sly dude.
And that's a story. That's like a whole nother story. But we ended up being, really great friends. And in 2001, I decided to pack my bags and go to India. And it was supposed to only be 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, Mark ended up flying out to India to meet me. And we traveled for, a couple more weeks. We extended the trip. And after, say 3 more weeks, we were like, well, if we can travel together for this long and not want to kill each other, then, we're pretty good traveling buddies. So our trip ended up turning into 4 months. And when I first got to India, I went to the Mahakumbha Mela, which is the biggest religious, spiritual festival in the world. Like, millions of people descend upon this 5 kilometer square mela, which means fair, in India, and people come from all over the world to sit with sadhus and gurus and philosophize and learn about spirituality. And so after I had 3 weeks of that experience, I hooked up with Mark, and then we ended up going to Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Cairo and Luxor in Egypt as well. So that trip was very life-changing, and you could say that I kind of sort of had a bit of an activation when I got to Egypt. And prior to that, I had been doing yoga every day for like 4 to 5 years. So I was kind of already on my spiritual journey in the late 90s.
Okay, so Mark chases you down, hunts you down literally 3/4 of the way around the world here. And here you are having this spiritual awakening. What was the moment that you took a look at that in the middle of Egypt, trying to figure out, who you are, what you were all about, and what your purpose was?
Well, it started in India, actually. And, it's a really crazy story how we met, because in India, I met again, I should say, because there were no cell phones back then. And, I guess beepers had been out. Maybe cell phones had just started, but certainly you couldn't bring it to India. So I was staying at the YMCA. We were like backpackers, right? And we said, okay, let's meet at the YMCA in Varanasi. And little did we know there were 2 YMCAs in Varanasi. So he ended up staying at one. I ended up staying at the other one. And he told the innkeeper, I'm supposed to meet my wife here, even though we weren't married in India. You call everyone your wife or your husband. And and they said, she's not here. And he was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And he ended up calling the other YMCA, and lo and behold, I was there. And we ended up meeting. So it was kind of magical because we met at like 6 a.m. and there was fog on the streets and we could barely see each other, but we found each other. So it was pretty romantic.
Was there candles? Was there music? Was there sitar in the background?
Yes, you can imagine that.
I do. It just makes it so much better. That's for sure.
So, India's pretty chaotic for anyone who's been there. You would know, like, it's just noisy and dusty and constant chaos, and everything is a bargain or a negotiation, even to take a little tuk-tuk, which are those little cars, or sometimes it's like a guy on a bicycle and he pulls you behind him. Everything's a negotiation. There's no flat prices there. So you're just constantly haggling, and it's quite exhausting on your spirit. And I remember we finally got down to the south of India, and he told me that he had to break this news to me that was really devastating. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. And I could tell he was acting odd. Turns out he had to tell me that my dog passed away.
Oh, no.
Excuse me. And this little dog was like my soulmate. He was a little white Chihuahua named E.T. And of all things, E.T. And, it was really heartbreaking. Like, I think I cried for 2 days, and we were in the south of India. And at that point, I realized, the importance of life and how, because I was crying in my room for like 2 days, and the innkeeper came to the door and he was like, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm okay, but my dog died, I'm really upset." And the guy kind of scoffed, and he was like, "Oh, is that all?" He thought like my mother died, because in India, they don't have a lot of reverence for the lives of animals. And, so it was kind of like shocking, because in America, everybody, when your pet passes away, everyone's very sympathetic and empathetic. And there it was like the opposite. So we just had, all these like strange occurrences that happened, and that really like gave you another perspective about the meaning of life. When I was at the Kumbh Mela, all kinds of things like that happened. And as we were traveling through this chaos, on the trains, on the buses, you kind of go through every vehicle in India, planes, trains, automobiles. And we found peace in each other. And, when we had those quiet moments together, we realized like we needed to do something greater with our lives. And it became really clear to me that I wanted to be of service, and I wanted to use my gifts for the greater good of the planet. And I decided to start a design agency called Conscious Creative. And we focused on serving green businesses, eco-friendly businesses, socially conscious nonprofits. And, we were a full service agency in San Francisco. We were like the first green certified company there, doing like video production, graphic design, web design, photography, everything. And we loved it. We had great clients. We're still doing it occasionally. But, after about 15 years of that, I kind of felt like my path started to split again. And in 2012, that's when I started feeling and hearing my calling to be of service in a different way. And that's when I kind of started seeking out healing work and learning all kinds of different modalities of healing, and figuring out like how I wanted to be of service in a different way. Because Conscious Creative was great, but I felt like there was more I had to do, and that time had come to like its full ripening, if you will. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It really does, because in the end, we all have our path on wanting to go there. Were you a very spiritual person right up front, like when you were in, getting on with your life before this trip? Did you follow the teachings of yoga or a lot of the Buddhist traditions or religions of that ilk, or did you just have that awakening? How did it work for you?
Well, it's interesting because my father was an atheist and my mother was Catholic. And so my father didn't allow us to go to church. And my mother would sneak me off to church with the neighbor, the babysitter, my uncle, my cousins, wherever she could like get me to go to church. She'd be like, please take Cheri to church. And she didn't care what denomination it was. So I grew up visiting Catholic churches, Trinity churches, Jehovah's Witness temples, the Kingdom Hall, like every kind of church. And so I never felt super spiritual in a Christian sense, but when I was in my 20s and I reached LA, I was definitely a seeker, and I started seeking out yoga and kirtans and studying some of the Vedic scripts and learning more about Hinduism and Buddhism and all of that. So I would say that like my own internal calling was to seek out the Eastern religions and the Eastern traditions. And I felt very spiritual. I could feel my spiritual being, my consciousness coming alive in those areas, because when I would go to a kirtan or I would go to yoga, I could feel the resonance very deeply.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. And as that resonation started picking up for you and you started trying to figure out what this change was, explain that feeling of spiritual change that you were going through within at this point.
Yeah, so it's been like difficult to put a finger on, but I've always felt this inner knowing. So I'm what you call clairsentient, which means like you know things. You don't know how you know, but you just know things. And it's like a feeling. It is often tied together with and like someone who calls himself an empath, because you feel emotions of others, or you feel the emotion of the collective, or you feel the frequency of a room when you walk in, things like that. And so I kind of always had this inner knowing that I was supposed to be doing something greater in spirituality. And I didn't, some people who are clairaudient or clairvoyant, they can see their path, or they can hear their messages from their guides really clearly. And maybe it's a little clearer knowing for them. But for me, it was always like I had to kind of figure it out and try this and try that until I felt that like zing, if you will, of knowing like, oh, okay, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So even with healing, I tried a bunch of different modalities until I found the one that most resonated with me, and I got an immediate response in knowing like, okay, this is the one for me. So that was really cool. And I love the journey. Like I love the exploration phase as well. Because I love learning. I'm a Gemini. It's like a Gemini thing.
Me too.
We have to be learning all the time.
Very true.
Yeah. So like that, seeker, truth seeker, I would say, I'm a truth seeker, but I'm really just a seeker because I love researching. I love learning. I love, adding on to my knowledge in all different areas.
When you got back to North America, how did you realize that you had to make a shift? Because now real life begins after traveling, and you have to, you have to find a home, you have to get resettled. You got this really good-looking dude in your life now who chased you down halfway across the world. Life is changing, but there's a reality to coming home. Unfortunately, how did that change you, or how did you perceive your own change coming back to the United States and then continuing with that spiritual path that you had now learned?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we left LA. Mark went to LA because he wanted to be in the film industry. I went to LA for different reasons. And then he was from the Bay Area, so we kept coming up here when we lived in LA to visit his family, and I fell in love with the Bay Area. And so when I left to go to India, my plan was to move to San Francisco upon my return to the U.S. And so that's what I did. I came up here, I put my stuff in storage, got on a plane, flew to India, came back, not knowing where I was going to live or anything. But then since Mark joined me, he was like, hey, we can live in my sister's, she had like an in-law unit behind her home. And so that's what we did. And I was basically starting from zero, from scratch. And, I kind of like created the vision and the mission for Conscious Creative and started reaching out to nonprofits to offer my services for free just so I could build a portfolio. And in the meantime, I got a job at an ad agency in downtown San Francisco that had a similar mission. They did public health work, advertising. And so I did that for a year while I was building Conscious Creative on the side and gaining clients on the side. And after about a year of moonlighting and, working full time in moonlighting, we moved to the city and we just like launched and took off. And, when you're on your path, like things just align for you. And it would have been really easy for me to just be like, oh, I've got this full-time job, I'm just going to do this and like let my dream slip off to the side. But I was I felt so passionate about it, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. It was so clear, like my vision was so crystal clear, that when I put my intention towards something like that, I'm a really good manifester. And Mark as well, he's a really incredible manifester. And so when we come together, the power of two, like I personally believe that you can manifest much more quickly because you've got like double power trying to go towards the same goal. And we did. It was really fascinating because when he started the video side of the business, he had all these skills but no camera. He's like, I don't have a camera. What am I going to do? So he had a whole video editing suite, but he wanted to do more filmmaking. And so this guy shows up in our life and he's like, hey, I've got these two like Sony top of the line professional cameras, but I don't know how to use them. I'm a sound guy. I need a camera guy. And here's two cameras.
Oh, that worked out perfect.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like,
no kidding.
And he ended up being like one of our best clients and business partners for 10 years.
Perfect. Cheri, I'm going to get you to hold on there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Cheri Arellano. Yes, the tongue is working. I'm warmed up. And one of my favorite people in this field is on the air with Cheri. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, I'm going to quickly run my dogs outside. I'll be right back.
Okay.
will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer or something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases still out in the SOR Satellite Pacific. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Satellite Pacific.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today. Take it from the top.
Go! I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spicing up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on. The Moose Band Weaver is where you are and visit the West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose represent the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in the area when the Moose is right? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
All right, Cheri, I'm back. Hello? She might not be back. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Cheri.
Hi. I'm back.
By the way, give your YouTube channel because you did a big interview with me in San Francisco.
Yes, I did.
And it's kind of cool. It's really kind of cool.
And we have to do part 2 on that still, don't we?
I don't know, do we?
Yeah, we were going to finish off a story because you said that new stuff had happened.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I did.
And, yeah, it's the Ascension Sessions for everyone on YouTube.
Yes, youtube.com/the Ascension Sessions. It's very cool. Cheri's a great interviewer.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
That's nice coming from you.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. You're fantastic. Yeah.
Who's harassing Corns?
You are. He'll get the link. He'll get the link up. Cheri, leave him alone.
No,
leave
it's
him
not
alone.
me.
Come on, leave him alone.
Oh, I thought you were asking me to put the link up, not him.
No, only the wrenches can, and we only got one wrench.
Okay, got it. Sorry, Corns.
All right. We're going to continue on here. And we got about 20 seconds. Thank you, Razgriz. Say hi to everybody in Fort Mac for us, if you don't mind. Hey, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, thank you for the super chat. And TH, thank you all the way from Europe. We appreciate. Where are you from, TH? Let me know. I want to know. One of these days, the next thing I'm going to put in the studio is I'm actually going to get a board so that way I can see who is from where and listening from where. I'm going to get a big map because I want to know. I'm going to get a world map, put it up in the studio, and I'm going to put a sticker in where everybody's from. So that's my next goal. This is kind of cool. I love it. I love finding out where people are from. It's kind of awesome. But, okay, we're going to go in 5 seconds here. Hold on, Cheri. Space Out Radio continues tonight on the mighty SOR. Thank you so much for tuning us in. We welcome back we're this one. What the hell? We're our terrestrial stations around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. We say to remind you that all of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cheri Alexi. Cheri Alexi is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Cheri Arellano. She's out of San Francisco. Her website, cheriarellano.com, if you want to check it out. If you want some divine light quantum healing, this is the place to go. Cheri, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Yes. All right, let's talk some healing here, because one of your mantras is to heal. You like helping people. You like being able to guide people in a proper direction so they can heal their body, mind, and soul. How did you get into this?
Yeah, so in 2012, like I said, I felt, another calling to kind of go down, to figure out like what my greater life's purpose was. And I had a friend who was into spiritual development work. And so she kind of helped me go through some processes to kind of, it's like going into a deep dive and figuring out who you are and what your purpose is. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So I spent about 2 years going through this deep dive and like really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I studied meditation, innate wisdom, the emotion code, and all these different healing modalities. And then I found that, I had a natural gift, if you will, for like hands-on healing and also working with a pendulum. And I found out about this other modality called quantum psionics. And so I studied that for a couple years. And my teacher, Raquel Sacramento, who is from Portugal, she also devised a healing modality called the crystalline healing light. And so I studied that under her as well. And it's a really, really powerful high-frequency healing modality that just, like, took off. It's fairly new. And, from the clients who've received this healing work from me, I've gotten really positive feedback. Like, it's a very high-frequency healing. Like, I work with the higher dimensional helpers. We can work with all sorts of issues, whether it's like old traumas, old wounds, soul contracts that need to be broken, relationship stuff, limiting beliefs, reprogramming the DNA, like all of that work can be done. And we work with all kinds of tools in this work, such as sacred geometry, Arcturian healing codes. We can work with the dragon essences and the dragon energies. We can work with crystal frequencies and crystal energies. We can even work with, like I take people on journeys up into the sacred grid, and we work with archangels, or we might work with, Saint Germain and some of the ascended masters, the violet flame. It's really fantastic to watch, because each person is different, and your higher self comes in and does the healing with me and my higher self. And so it's like our two higher selves are working together to call in and use the best tools for you, because your higher self knows what you need, right? So it kind of comes in and guides the ship. And the work tends to be very effective and quick. So people like it for that reason, because it kind of just like zooms right into the areas that are needed.
Okay, so as you are breaking down what is affecting a person, take me through this. So let's say I come to you and I say, look, I'm only running at about 22% chi right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. How do I build up my spirituality? How do I build up my energy? How do I build up, finding myself? Because I feel like I'm in a lot of trouble right now.
So are you saying like you have low energy, you feel lethargic, like you don't feel in touch with yourself? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. So I would recommend that, we do a session, and in the session, at the beginning of the session, we talk for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll ask you a bunch of questions and kind of parse out as much as I can and as much as you're willing to share. And then once we start the session, I call in guides, I call in protection, I call in your benevolent ancestors, et cetera, et cetera. And once we start the work, I work with this, it's like a sacred geometry 5D board, and it tells me like which tools to use. And basically it's spirit telling me, but I use a tool to bring it down into the 3D. And in my experience, the tools that come through are always spot on, but at the beginning of the session, when I'm parsing out with you what's lacking and what you want to call in more of. So let's say you say, I'm feeling disconnected and, my oomph has got up and gone, and I need more of like motivation in life, or I need more happiness, more joy. Because what you're describing kind of sounds like grief or depression.
Right.
And so the opposite of that would be joy, happiness, love, right? So I would ask you, Dave, would you like to call in more joy, happiness, love into your life, more feelings of uplifting? And if you were in agreement with that, then we would set the intention to call in those attributes into your life, and we would release the grief, the depression, the sadness, or whatever, was there that we discussed. And so with the aids of our helpers, that's what would be done.
Okay, so how do I know that this is happening? What am I feeling as we make this transition?
So some people report feeling, like tingling, or they might feel a release somewhere in their spirit body. They might see colors. They might feel warmth on a certain part of their body. Most people walk away feeling much lighter, because like we're all energetic beings, and some days we feel really dense, like our energy feels dense, and some days it feels light. And usually happiness, joy, peace are associated with a lighter energy frequency. So basically what we do is we measure the frequency that you're running at the beginning, and then we do the healing work, and then I measure your frequency again at the end of the healing work on a numeric scale, and it'll often show me like how your frequency has changed from before the session to after the session. But it's, you know, what you experience is different. Like each person has a different experience.
Okay, so am I actually feeling this transition, or is it happening quite mentally?
I wouldn't say it's mental. I would say it's more spiritual. And you might feel it depending on how sensitive you are and how in tune you are with your own spiritual energy. You know, somebody who's like highly sensitive is going to feel it for sure. And somebody who's not as sensitive may just feel a couple things, or they might just feel lighter at the end, but then they'll notice over the course of a few days, like things shift. I've had people come to me and say like, you know, my relationship with my brother is terrible. We're trying to work on this house together and he won't communicate with me. And every time we start talking, we get into an argument, and, you know, really practical things like that. And so we worked on her, but, you know, with that goal of having more open and clear and conscious communication with her family members. And she called me a week later and she said, Cheri, oh my God, it's shifted so much. It's like a different person. We're getting along great. We're talking really well. Like our communication's really clear. There's no obstacles. Like everything shifted. I had another girl who had this boyfriend who had a lot of like jealousy and envy and kind of obsessive energy towards her. And we worked on cutting cords to this person because she didn't want him in her life anymore. And like right after we finished the session, she starts texting me and saying like he was saying things to her that he could already feel the disconnect. Like she didn't call him, she didn't say anything to him, but he was like, what's going on? What, you know, what's happened? Like he knew something shifted, but he couldn't put it into words. So the work can happen really quickly. You know, I've gotten that feedback from clients.
Okay, so when you're transforming a client, healing them, whether it's depression, whether it's spiritual attachment, or anything of the sort, how do you define what is truly upsetting the person on their spiritual plane?
I ask questions, and most of the time I just know, like I can intuit it, but I'll always ask anyways because I don't like to make assumptions, and I'll say, you know, I think it's this, or, you know, what do you think about this, or do you feel this? Like, because, you know, some people have a hard time putting emotions into words. Like they have a hard time finding the right adjectives. And that was actually one of the things I had to study. So I got really good at that. And sometimes I need to help them put their emotions into words. And even if I don't get to the bottom of it with words, spirit knows exactly what's needed. So I could do a session with you and almost have no words exchanged, and you would still receive a healing because your higher self knows what you need in that moment.
Okay, so
does that make sense?
Okay, so when you basically your own spirit guides are diagnosing what the spiritual issues are in your client.
Yes, your spirit guides, your spiritual team,
right,
is telling my spiritual team like what we need to work on.
Yes, I get that. Okay, but on the flip side, you have to be very careful too, because you are not, even though you're a healing practitioner on the spiritual side, you're not a doctor, you're not a nurse or anybody of medicinal education in order to say, well, look, you better, go get your stomach checked because there's something wrong in there, or you have to be very careful with things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I don't do, physical recommendations or prescriptions or anything like that. I do work with essential oils. So if someone came to me with something that I thought an essential oil could help them with, I could make that recommendation. But most of the things that we touch on are spiritual. And when you fix the spiritual, it tends to also clear up any physical discomfort in that area sometimes, depending on how severe it is, of course. But as you know, we all have, 7 energy centers, right? And so when the chakras are blocked, it can often affect a physical part of the body that's near that chakra or that's ruled by that chakra. So a lot of people who have anxiety or fear or worry, they tend to get upset stomach because we hold those emotions in the solar plexus chakra a lot of the times. So, if you came to me and said, "Oh man, my stomach's been messed up this week," that would give me a clue. But it doesn't mean I have all the answers of why your stomach's messed. It could be that, you have some other physical thing. But I believe that we're all energy. Like, I think that we're like 99.9% energy and, the rest is water. And when we fix the energetic blocks, then the water starts to flow and things start to heal. Our bodies have a divine blueprint from birth. We were perfect at birth, and our bodies can remember that perfect divine blueprint. But our cells become trained to kind of like not go back to that divine blueprint. They have to be reminded and reprogrammed sometimes.
All right, let's get to a couple questions from our audience here.
Okay.
Human Carl, not to be misconstrued with Alien Carl. Human Carl wants to know, are these sessions face-to-face or via phone?
I have done both. Right now, everything is on Zoom, so we can see each other. I can also do it over the telephone. We don't have to see each other. And I've also done it remotely. I've also done it, like without the client being present. So I'll say, okay, I'm going to work on you on this day at this time. And they know I'm doing the work, but they're not present, if that makes sense.
Is it like Reiki that you're doing?
No, it's not like Reiki. I mean, I don't do hands-on healing. I can do that work, and I am trained in Reiki 1, and so I understand how energy works in that Reiki kind of way, but that's not exactly what I'm doing. No.
All right. Okay, let's move on to another question. Troy SR71 is asking, does Cheri work with people with cancer?
I have not worked with people with cancer yet. However, I would absolutely be willing to. I'd be happy to help anyone. I would, come in and we could call in your guides. We could find out what's needed to shift. Sometimes cancer is developed because of a spiritual or mental illness or dis-ease, if you will. And if the shift can be made, it can, I feel, ease up the cancer. Like, I know someone who recently was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was a very worrisome person. She has a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety all the time. And she herself told me, like, I know this is why I got cancer, because I'm always worried about this particular thing. And I believe her. I believe that we have total command over our bodies in that way.
Okay, let's, when it comes to sensitivities like that, okay, whether it's cancer, whether it's dementia, Lou Gehrig's disease or anything like that, what kind of communication do you get from that person's body that is breaking down? What's that like?
Do you mean like, can I feel the illness in their body?
Yes.
I haven't worked with anyone who's had an extreme rare disease like that, who's come to me and said, I have this disease, or I can't speak on that because I haven't had that experience yet.
Oh, okay, but let me rephrase this. We got about 2.5 minutes left here.
Okay.
If someone has a health issue, does their spirit let you know that they are going through these tribulations?
You mean if they didn't verbally tell me, right?
Exactly. Are you picking up on it?
Sometimes I can. It really depends on the person and how open they are. Most of the time I do get intuitive hits like that while I'm working on the session. I might not know like, oh, it's Lou Gehrig's disease or whatever, but I might know that there's like a heavier, darker energy, a denser energy that needs to be cleared. If that makes sense.
Okay. Because a lot of people that I've talked to in the spiritual realm will say that when they are, say, scanning a person, they, if they have cancer or if they have something along those lines, they are able to almost see like black spots or dark areas in the body. They're shown that almost like a projection. And I was just curious if you got something like that too.
Yeah, I'm not clairvoyant, so I don't see things like that, and I'm not a medical intuitive. However, I am an empath and I am clairsentient, so sometimes I'll feel like a heavier or denser energy in a particular area of the body, but I can't see it, so if I could see it, I could probably be like, oh, that might look like X, or whatever. So at that point, I might ask a question like, oh, I'm feeling something over here, can you talk about that, or do you know about that? Or I might say, get it checked out.
Right, okay. So you do kind of pick up on things. It's just not, you can't see it. You can't, you just go by the vibe that you receive in return.
Right, exactly. Or I might feel it somewhere in my body.
All right, that's kind of cool. When we come back from the break here at the bottom of the hour, I want to get into what you define on your website as crystalline light healing reset. This absolutely intrigues me because, there's so much going on. I haven't had any luck with any type of crystal healing, but I'm open to the game. I'm open to it. And I want you to break it down for our audience if you don't mind, if that's cool.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I touched on that earlier, but yeah, I'm happy to go more into detail about that because the crystalline healing light grid is my absolute favorite
let's do it.
Method of healing. Yeah.
Let's do it. Cheri Arellano is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I love her last name. Love her first name. Love Cheri in general. We continue on Spaced Out Radio right after this. You're a great speaker, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You are.
It's taken me a long time.
Yes. Yes.
I used to be painfully shy to be on camera, on, audio, on anything. And I had to just kind of like break through it. In fact, the whole first year of the Ascension sessions, I wouldn't even go on camera. And
Oh,
I was telling Mark tonight, I'm like, wow, radio is so nice because you can it's just all audio. You know?
The unfortunate part about it is YouTube came along, and now people got to see my ugly mug. But that's okay. That's okay. Speaking of ugly mugs, big debate in the chat room right now about fighting in hockey. The reason why the game sucks today is two reasons. Number one, that moron Tom Rennie, who is running Hockey Canada, he needs to be fired. Okay? And number two, it's dirty. It's an ugly game because there is less fighting in the game. There is less fighting in the game, which means that the game, although the skill has picked up, the fact is it's a dirtier hockey game where stars are getting injured with injuries they've never suffered before, all because of A, the instigator rule, and B, the referees are protecting the players instead of the players protecting themselves. So we can do a whole show on hockey fights. We'll do a whole show on hockey fights. We could do that. You know, so I'm very, very astute on that. And besides, number 4, it's fun. It is very fun to drop the gloves and punch the shit out of somebody. It really is. It really is. It's a beautiful adrenaline rush and spiritual cleansing. You want to know how I used to cleanse my spirit?
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, what's a broken nose every now and again? What's a broken nose? I mean, it's okay. Yes.
How many times have you broken your nose, Dave?
I believe 5, maybe 6 now.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll start there when you get your healing. We'll start there.
I had surgery on it in 1997, and it didn't work. But when they went in, I was down to, in my left nostril, I was down to 8% breathing, opening to breathe, and my right one was at 10%.
Wow.
Yes.
I heard it's one of the most painful areas to get, to have broken.
I can tell you point blank, my nose could be crooked, and I would put it back into place myself. I will never, ever go through nose surgery again. I've blown out my knees, my ankles, my back, dislocated my fingers. I've had concussions where all of a sudden you end up getting vertigo. That was kind of cool. But I would never in my life, out of everything that I have experienced pain-wise, ever get nose surgery again.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's horrible. Horrible. You get these people out there that go for this rhinoplasty to get these nose jobs. No. I would never do it. Never do it in a million years again. Don't touch my nose. You can do anything you want, just don't touch my nose. And that's why, to this day, even when I was going through broadcasting school, in year 1, one of my instructors called me in, and he's like, "You used to play a lot of hockey." He goes, "Did you fight?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "Oh, there's our answer." I said, "Answer to what?" He goes, "Listen to your tape." And so I put in my demo tape, and you hear me in between because I couldn't breathe out of my nose. It's kind of cool.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I didn't even realize it. So that's when I booked myself for nose surgery, and oh, goddamn, that's why I tend to sound if you listen to my voice critically, I actually sound a little nasally, and that's the reason why.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Because I can't breathe out of it.
Oh, my goodness. I've never broken a bone, thank God.
Oh, yeah.
Knock on wood.
What's really cool is, my son broke my nose a few months ago when we were wrestling, and I couldn't breathe out of it at all. And I go to my chiropractor. I'm like, "Dude," I said, you gotta straighten my nose." And he's like, "Why?" I told him what happened, and he got in there and he cracked it back a couple of times. Oh, it felt fantastic. Hold on, here we go. Spaced Out Radio continues on tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we continue on with Cheri Arellano. Her website, cheriarellano.com, if you want to check it on out. We're talking spiritual healings, Zen, Chi, finding your path into the quantum divine light. Cheri, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
I thought that was kind of a nice
that
intro.
was good.
All right.
It was.
Let's go down the crystalline healing journey right now. Let's get into this. Tell me all about it. What is it about?
Okay, awesome. So the crystalline healing light grid is basically a super high frequency healing grid. It's kind of like you've heard of the crystalline grid. The Earth has the crystalline grid. We have a magnetic grid. And so this is a frequency, if you will, of healing energy that we tap into. And so if you look on my website, you'll see like a lot of sacred geometry on my healing services page. Mm-hmm. And those are the boards that I actually work with. So when I'm doing the healing session, I do like a mental projection of your auric field or your energy body, and I place you into the crystalline healing light grid. And through there, once we're connected with our guides, I used a dowsing technique and like a holographic mind projection technique. And we go through a series of activations, attunements, commands. There's a lot of I am statements. We go through different healing tools. Sometimes I'll take you to the, it's called like the Sacred Garden of Healing. And this is a place where all the divine healers and surgeons are, and they'll come in and work on you based on what it is that needs to be worked on. Sometimes we'll go to the Akashic Hall of Records. And for those who don't know, the Akashic Hall of Records is like, it's like a library of records that have a recording of everyone's past, present, and future lives, and it's all etheric. And so we can go there to access your Akashic records to find out, maybe you died in some traumatic way in a past life, and we need to heal that because maybe it's why you have like a phobia in this life, or maybe you have, some unresolved issue with your sister that you just can't quite put your finger on. And then, we'll learn something from the Akashic records. Sometimes we'll call in Archangel Michael and he'll come in and do cord cutting. Sometimes, you'll need a divine shield of light or a sword of light for protection because maybe you have a lot of like negative energies focused on you or coming your way. I've seen people who have like coworkers who are really jealous or envious, or they're always trying to get them in trouble or whatever, so they need extra protection. So these are just some of the tools that might come through in the healing that you might need, for whatever we're working on that day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very, very interesting. And okay, so moving on here in regards to it, when you say crystalline healing, are you actually using crystals in order, mm-hmm. like say if somebody is with you, are you using crystals to put on their body at that time, or is it the energy from the crystals that you are sending through to the spirit?
Yeah, so if I'm doing a Zoom call, I'll have crystals on the board. I usually have like one larger crystal in the center that represents you and your auric field, and I might have other crystals around. So I'm using the frequency of the energy of the crystal in the work. Everything has frequency and everything has energy. So, like, it might be, sometimes crystals will actually come up as a healing tool, and maybe you need amethyst because amethyst gets rid of addictions. It's great for meditation. It's great for protection. Amethyst is one of the most powerful crystals. I mean, I love quartz crystal as the most powerful, but amethyst is like a close second. And let's say you're working on food cravings or some kind of addiction, the amethyst crystal might come through, it divinely comes through, and I can send you the frequency of the amethyst crystal without you needing an actual physical crystal in your hand, and you'll get the same healing from it. Now, I have done healings in person where I put crystals on your body. I've done that as well. Haven't been able to do that in a long time because of COVID, but that's another form of healing that we can do in addition to the, etheric healing.
Okay, so how do you judge which crystals go where? Like if you were to say pick a complete stranger, and technically I'm a little bit of a stranger to you in regards to the healing side and the divine spiritual side. Okay, how would you know what crystals work for me?
Well, it depends on what we're working on. So I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the crystals. I'm not a super crystal expert, but, I've designed my own line of essential oil elixirs. And what makes them an elixir is it's a blend of oils that are soaked in crystals. So the oils then take on the properties of the crystals, right? And so in that work, I've had to learn which crystals do what so that I could align the healing properties of the crystals with the healing properties of the oils. And so, like, I have a whole chakra balancing line of elixirs. And if I knew that we were working on your solar plexus because your solar plexus was blocked, then I would pick crystals that are aligned to help with the solar plexus chakra. And those tend to be the ones in the yellow family. However, there's other crystals you can use as well. So you can do it by color, you can do it by frequency, or, you can study all of the different crystals and find out specifically what you're trying to achieve.
So how do you go down the road then through that to get into past life wounds?
So if somebody has a limiting belief, for example, that they just kind of can't heal or get through, can't get over it, it's like something that keeps reoccurring, then that's when we want to look at why is that limiting belief so deeply set in. And a lot of times it could be from a past life wound, or it could be an early childhood wound. So we can ask the pendulum, and we can go back as far as we need to identify where that trauma happened. We can ask, is this a past life? Is this a current life? And identify where that wound happened, and then we can focus on healing that specific time frame.
Okay.
And reprogramming the DNA to call in the new emotions that we would like to be replaced with, if that makes sense.
Okay, so when we talk about past life wounds, what are we talking about there? Are we talking maybe a broken leg, a stab with a sword, taking a bow and arrow to the collarbone? What are we talking about here?
Yeah, it could be any of those things. It could be that you were in a battle and you got stabbed in the back or in the leg. It could be that you literally got stabbed in the back by, your ex-wife or your wife in that life, I should say. It could be that you drowned, in a past life. And so now you have this irrational fear of water and you can't figure it out. Or maybe you fell off a cliff and you have an irrational fear of heights. There's all kinds of wounds. It could be that, you were tortured by a parent or some adult figure in your life. So a lot of times we have these old traumas that stay in the soul's memory because the soul never forgets. Like the soul memory lives on through each incarnation. And so sometimes if we can't get to the root of the problem in this lifetime, we have to go back one or multiple lifetimes to find out.
Interesting.
I've gone back using the emotion code with people. Someone came to me and said, okay, I think my father's line is reptilian. Can we verify this? And so we went back and we asked, how many generations back did this go? And we got confirmation that it was 500 years. That's just one example. But there's so many, because it was a wound for her because she had shame around it. So we had to clear the shame in her current emotional body.
What if you lost your head by a guillotine in France?
Yeah, then, that's something that we could ask. I mean, that's so specific, right? Maybe you have a reoccurring nightmare that keeps happening to you, or you see it in a movie and you have some really emotional trigger to that exact tragedy. So that could be something that sounds like a pretty big wound. So that would definitely be something I would want to work on if it happened to me.
But all of this also revolves around reincarnation as to whether or not it is real. And that portion for many people, Cheri, is still of great debate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely believe in reincarnation. And, if you don't believe in reincarnation, it doesn't mean the healing cannot take place. Because again, if you came to me for a healing and you said, Cheri, I don't believe in reincarnation, I would say, okay, but your spirit guides are coming in and they're working with us to do the healing and they know exactly what's needed. So, I trust your higher and divine wisdom. We all have our own divine wisdom from our higher selves. And you know yourself better than anyone. So I trust in that 100%.
Okay.
The healing work will still take place.
So do you buy into the fact that people can have birthmarks from previous wounds, whether it's on their head or their stomach or something along those lines to signify the scars from a previous life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's absolutely possible. I don't know for sure 100%, but I do believe that that's possible and likely.
Because that is one of the claims with all of this, and I was just curious your thoughts on that. Okay, so with the soul, how do you, let's say you had a very traumatic death in your previous life. How do you release that trauma for today's life?
Well, first of all, the first step would be wanting to release it, right? So having that divine will to heal and to release it. And so if you were aware of the trauma because maybe you went to a psychic and she told you, or maybe you are psychic yourself, or maybe you had a dream or a recurring dream, and so you believe in your core like you had this trauma from, it could come in from a variety of different ways. and you really wanted to heal it, that's a huge first step, right? So by coming in and doing the work and setting the intentions of clearing it, we can clear it, because your intentions are so strong and so powerful. And if you believe in the power of manifestation, you can clear those old wounds. I mean, it might not happen on the first try, depending on how deep the wound is. It might need several sessions. If you have an old father wound trauma, if you had a father who was a tyrant or an alcoholic or whatever, you probably had many interactions with him and many memories and many instances that need to be healed. And so, you're looking at years of trauma or abuse that need to be healed on many different layers and levels. So it's kind of like an onion. You're peeling away the layers little by little. So it may take more than one session. And sometimes, like, people may want to do the work, but then they come in and they're like still kind of holding on to their wounds energetically. And you kind of have to like be really gentle with them, and they have to be gentle with themselves, because it's an unfolding process, and it's not like ripping off a Band-Aid. We're not going to say like, oh, just come in and snap 1, 2, 3, you're fixed. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes they need to be willing and ready to release it fully, and sometimes that can take several sessions, and maybe even different modalities. So I don't know if I answered your question, Dave, but I think that it's a process is the short answer.
All right, we've got about 6 minutes here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Cheri Arellano is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Cheri, as you continue on trying to heal from the past, a lot of people have talked on this show over time about the soul contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still up in the air about it, but people much smarter than me who study this quite a bit believe that before we ascend to this planet that we sign a soul contract. What's your knowledge on this?
Yeah, I believe in soul contracts as well. I believe that before we incarnate into the physical body, we have a chance to kind of confer or have a meeting with our spiritual team, our soul group, the people who are in our soul family, if you will. And a lot of times when we come into the physical, it's because we want to. We have a mission, we have a purpose, we want to accomplish something or experience something. And sometimes, we have to come in with the intention of whatever that mission or contract is. And unfortunately, sometimes we have contracts that no longer serve us. So maybe we made a contract, 10 lifetimes ago, and it's no longer relevant, or it's no longer serving us, or it's time to move on and break that contract. So sometimes when we hear the word contract, we think of it as like, it's forever written in stone until we fulfill it, but that's not the case. You can decide that, okay, that contract's no longer serving me, and we need to break this contract and rewrite the contract. So sometimes we need to be forgiving of ourselves and honor ourselves where we are now, because that contract is no longer serving us. I had a session with someone who it was really interesting. She met this guy, and we were at a conference, and she had this like intense sexual attraction to this person. She'd never met him before. She couldn't understand it. And she was like going out of her mind, like, oh my God, who is this person? Why do I feel this way? I don't know him, blah, blah, blah. And she's a bit of a seer. So she started like seeing some things play out in her mind's eye. And she came to me, Cheri, I think I have an old soul contract with this person, and that's why I'm feeling this way. And so we sat down in 15 minutes. We did a quick session. We broke the soul contract, and it was like night and day. Like the light was on and then the light switch turned off. She said next time she saw him, she had zero attraction to him. Now that was pretty fascinating because it was so effective and so quick. It's like mind-boggling. And she's a healer too. So, you know, I knew she wasn't like blowing smoke up my skirt because she would have told me, you know,
Okay.
like it didn't work or whatever.
Now, is the soul contract between, and this may sound like an obvious question, between souls, or is it between you and a divine entity?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Both. The answer is both. I mean, everything has a soul, right? Like everything is energetic, right? So you could say a divine entity is a soul as well. But I think I know where you're going by saying that. Are you meaning like someone who may not be incarnated as a human, whether it's an angel or a devil or whatever, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a teacher once who I believe had a soul contract with a very dark being. And I actually had to stop working with this person because of it. And she confirmed after I told her, I said, hey, I think this is what's happening. She confirmed it later with another like seer in our community that it was true. So yeah, you can have soul contracts with dark beings, other souls, other humans, other, you know, in this lifetime, other lifetimes. It's really all across because we're multidimensional beings. You know, you could have a Dave Scott in another dimension could have a soul contract with somebody else in another dimension. You know what I mean? And it's affecting you on this plane, and you're like, why does this keep happening? I don't get it. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that's possible.
Okay. We've got about 1 minute here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour here, Cheri. Okay, so when you have a soul connection with someone, how are we able to tell this?
A soul connection?
Yeah.
As in romance?
Oh,
or
but it could be anything.
anything?
I mean, I've walked down the street before, and I can look at someone and I'm like, that person and I are going to be friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because you resonate with them, right? So you're both vibrating at a certain frequency. That's a match. And it could be that, like there's this project you need to do with that person, and, you know, you don't find out until you start talking to them. Or it could be that your souls both have a mission that's parallel in this lifetime. You know, you have a similar objective or the same objective. And so you feel it because we're intuitive beings. Like we all have intuition. You could feel it. So that pull that you're feeling when you see that person or meet that person, it's a pull. It's literally like a cord coming out of your solar plexus, connects with theirs. You feel the tug, and you're like, your mind is trying to make sense of it, and your mind is going like,
yes, fully.
Why do I feel this way?
Fully
you know?
Understand. We'll continue that conversation right after this. Cheri Arellano is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's see where we could go. Let's get a little quantum. Stay with those connections as we continue to find our Zen and our Chi tonight on the mighty SOR. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
We should talk contact.
Contact. Okay, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Be right back. I'm Dave Scott. I'll be right back.
Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We
Use 100%
They've
natural
got
ingredients with our oils
Silly
and
Man.
balms to make your feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR 2019 at mightymoonbeard.com today.
Corn.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The party is always on. Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be and visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose brings up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Stacey, spiritual support consultant, otherwise known as Ascension. So glad to team up with Space Air Radio and all investigators, spiritual together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and reports of the past. Looking for answers just like you. So hello, excitement, and Space Air Radio. Let's figure out what's going on together.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
All right, Cheri, I'm back.
Hi there, I'm here.
Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi. I think your rolling of R's has got the chat room all fired up.
I think it sounds fantastic and professional.
They're all sexy now. They're all talking crazy.
Arellano. Uh-huh.
Oh
You
my
told me I
gosh.
could. You told me I could.
Makes it so official.
Right? All right. We've got just under 2 minutes here.
That interview you did with Samantha was fantastic.
Thank you.
I had a session with her and I hadn't seen, I've seen some of her videos, but I've never seen her interviewed like that. And it gave me a lot of clarity on who she is as a person.
Samantha is amazing. And believe it or not, she's a friend of mine. and
Yep.
and we're pretty close. But in interviewing her, absolutely intimidates me.
Yeah.
Absolutely intimidates me.
I could see that. I mean, it inspired me a little bit to have her on my show. I think she would be right on target, for my content and my show.
She'll go on with you.
Especially right now with all the craziness that's happening in the world.
Yeah, she would totally go on with you. That's not an issue whatsoever. She's pretty cool that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I mean, have you ever had a session with her?
Honey, we have experienced everything together.
I know, but I mean just an actual session. She talks so quickly, it's hard to keep up with her sometimes.
Yeah. I've talked quite a bit with her over the last 7 years, and she is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, hold on one second. We're going to get going here. Here we go on Space Out Radio once again. Hello to our terrestrial affiliates and those listening in on our digital affiliates on KPNL, Revolution Radio, and TalkStream Live. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cheri Arellano. Cheri Arellano is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Cheri Arellano as our guest, and we're talking everything quantum and divine, about healing ourselves from our soul contracts to our previous lives to everything. Cheri, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dave. It's great to be here. I can't believe there's only 30 minutes left.
I know. It's kind of weird how fast this goes sometimes. Cheri, I want to ask you in regards to vibrational healing. What is this about?
Vibrational healing? Well, we're all vibration. We're all energy. So it's basically attuning your frequency or your vibration to the highest frequency possible, so that you're kind of operating in your best and highest self. So sometimes, like people will say, oh, that's high vibe or whatever, like that old term. It's true. It's like if you can raise your vibration to a higher frequency, things start to flow into your life and into your awareness that are for your highest and best good. So, whether it's something you're trying to manifest, be it a job or a mate or, a new apartment or house or whatever it is, when we can operate through the world at our highest vibration, we tend to attract all of the right things into our lives. And when, on the other side of that coin, when we're operating in a low frequency or a lower vibration, we tend to attract things that are lower frequency or not so good for us, and not, more chaos, more conflict, more negativity, things don't go our way, and that kind of thing. So in the work that I do, vibrational healing, it's about resetting and raising your vibration. Literally, I measure your frequency at the beginning of the session and I measure it at the end, and it's always higher. So that's what it is.
What's the purpose of doing that?
So that we can operate in our highest and best selves and be our highest and best selves and be here in service to others, not just in service to ourselves. And when we're operating in our highest and best selves, like, you feel positive, you're putting out more positivity in the world. It's contagious. It's affecting those around you. When you raise your frequency, Dave, it raises the frequency of your children, your coworkers, those around you as well will benefit from it.
All right, let's get to some questions from the audience here for you. Human Carl is asking, Cheri, does our soul contract define the family that we will join?
Oftentimes, I believe it does. A lot of people believe that it does. We tend to come from a soul group, and when we reincarnate, a lot of the people in that soul group will end up being in our lives again in some form or another. Someone who was your mother might be your sister in the next lifetime, or your lover or your wife or whatever. So a lot of times we tend to come back and interact with the same beings because there's lessons that we still are working out with those people. And when we come into the physical or the 3D plane, we can work on those lessons or those things that need to be healed in a better way, in an easier way.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one from Persevere. Are you taking apprenticeships? I could feel energies. I just wanted to make sure I have a guide to help me.
Not officially, but I'm always happy to help if you have questions. So feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to help you in any way that I can, or point you in the right direction of somebody else who can if I can't.
All right, let's move on. Bigfoot Rob is asking, is a contract with Satan voided if the contract was not signed in blood? Serious question.
I cannot speak on that. I have no knowing of any of those types of relationships.
Any types of those relationships?
With those who shall not be named.
Yes. Vinny is asking, is there an end to reincarnation?
Yes, I believe so. I don't, I'm not the leading expert on reincarnation, but I think that when we've reached, our highest iteration of ourselves, if you will, I do believe that we can stop the reincarnation cycle and stay connected with God and stay in the realm of light. So I don't think that it just goes on forever and ever and ever. However, I've heard a theory that we're kind of on this planet, there's a frequency fence in place. Certain beings are harvesting our souls and therefore keeping us in this reincarnation loop, which implies that the power has been taken away from us. I'm not sure that I believe that, but that's something you should probably look into.
All right. G-Girl is asking, does one's negative energy affect your car, thus car troubles?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Does one's negative energy affect your car, thus car troubles?
Yeah, I think absolutely it can. So there's certain people who have really strong electromagnetic fields, like their auras are like disruptors. And so if you're really angry, you could be in your car and be at a stoplight and the light goes out, or the street light goes out, or your car breaks down, or maybe you're at your computer and your computer stops, operating normally, or lights flicker. There are people who have a certain type of energy frequency that affects electrical and mechanical objects.
All right, moving on. Donnie is asking, how do you measure frequency?
I use a pendulum and a number scale. So it's very literal. It's literally like 1 through 100. And I measure where you're at the beginning of our session, and then I measure where you're at the end of our session. I mean, that's just the way I do it. Other people can feel, they can see your auric field, they can see if your chakras are imbalanced, they can see if you've got black sludge in your auric field. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but that's how I do it.
Well, I love this question from Lexi. Can you be reincarnated back in time?
Can you be reincarnated back in time?
That is an interesting question.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Sorry.
I'll get on a reincarnation person, Lexi, and let's ask that. That's an interesting question.
That is an interesting question.
Element 115 is asking, does astral projection raise your energy?
So that's a complex question because personally, I believe that when you're in the astral realm, you're just pure energy, right? You're in your highest, purest form. There are dark beings in the astral realm. You can pick up negative entities. You can interact with dark entities. But I think that if you're practicing astral projection with intention, I think that it can raise your vibration, because I think that you can go into the astral realm through a projection with a very positive intention in mind, and then you can raise your vibration that way. So you could say, I want to go meet my spirit guide. I want to go meet my grandmother who was a healer and learn from her. I want to go meet, this amazing violinist and learn how to play the violin. I think that you can raise your frequency that way with positive intentions.
Moving on to questions here. And let's see. Where is it here? Perseverance asking, have you ever tried to clear the energy of ghosts?
I have. I wouldn't say ghosts per se, but definitely spirits. When I think of ghosts, I think of like the transparent white figure. But I have cleared energy out of a room or out of a house. I actually do house clearings. I do space clearings. I do them remotely or in person. And I've cleared out, energies that were not so benevolent. I haven't seen a ghost per se. I've had experiences with energies. I've had poltergeist experience. I had a night vision camera in my house for about a month recording orbs that were, I have what I call the orb highway in my room. I have like hundreds of orbs flying through my room every night. So, but I think they're all benevolent. So I didn't have to clear those out. But I did have to set really clear parameters around it.
Okay. Let's move on. I got a bunch of questions here from the audience here. Solar Warden is asking if you have any knowledge of numerology and if birth dates have significance.
Yes, absolutely. I have like a microscopic level of numerology experience. And yes, birthdays and names do affect your numerology. So we all have like, if you write out your full name, first, middle, last name, and your birthday, I believe it is. I haven't done this in a while, but there's a way to add it all up, and then you drill it down until you come to like what's called your number. And so, for example, I'm a 7, and 7s are known to be healers, protectors of the earth, very grounded, that type of energy. So each number has a different archetype or, mission, if you will. And so you can do your numerology and find out like what number you are based on your name and your birthday.
All right, let's go to another question. This one from Lexi, who is asking, how long does it take to be reincarnated? Right away? 1 year? 10 years?
So I believe that when we transition over to the other side and we do a life review, we figure out what we want to do next, I believe that you can split your soul. So like part of your soul can reincarnate into a baby. Part of your soul can go into your child, for example. And part of your soul could be like a missionary for God, like somebody who's like in the light army, if you will. And part of your soul could stay with God. So I don't think it's linear. I don't think it's like, okay, you're up there for a month and then you go off to this other body and now you're reincarnated. I think that we have a choice. I mean, you hear a lot of stories of people whose parent died and then all of a sudden their psychic gifts came online, or all of a sudden they had some skill that their parent had. And I believe that's because the parent can choose, like, well, I'm going to leave a little piece of myself with my child, and then I'm going to go over here, and then I'm going to do this other, like, light army mission kind of thing. So I think it's very multidimensional. It's not linear.
All right, let's continue on. Nucker is asking, can dark energy take over your body when you are astral projecting?
I'm assuming that he means like your physical body that's in your room. Yeah. I wouldn't say take over. I would say that you definitely need to have protection. You definitely need to know what you're doing. And you could have some instances of a negative experience. I personally don't think that it would take over your whole body. I think that even when we're away, we're still connected with our cord. We still have protection around us, especially if you're calling in protection before you leave. So I haven't heard of any episodes like that, but there are people who specialize in astral projection, so they would probably be better to ask that question.
Yeah, from what I know about that, there is a very strong possibility it could happen, especially if you are searching for darkness, because the dark side is always looking for a way in, and they have that ability to, because you're not very secure when you're outside of your body. They do have the ability to really go in and potentially enter your body. So you have to be really aware of that and be cognizant of your body and while you're astral traveling. That's what I've learned.
Yeah, but every time when we go to sleep at night and we're dreaming, we're astral traveling. So, even when we sleep, we're astral traveling, and we, most of us wake up and we're fine. So I think that if you're astral projecting and you're trying to go spy on some underground reptilian base, then yeah, you're probably going to bring back a reptilian with you, or, they're going to see you before you see them. So be really careful with what you're doing.
Okay. We've only got about 5 minutes left with you, and, you wanted to get into some contact as well.
Sure.
Were we talking ET contact, ghost contact, contact with people again, since we're not allowed to give hugs or shake hands anymore?
Yeah, probably the first kind you mentioned.
All right, let's go aliens.
Yeah, so I met you in 2020 February and at the UFO conference, and I went there to learn. I went there to be an exhibitor, to have a booth, and to meet some people, and not ever expecting to come out of that learning that I was an experiencer, but that's exactly what happened. So I had some suspicions that I might have had some experiences, and so I got some information from that night. And I wanted to ask you, did you have any weird experiences in the hotel? Like, because you slept at that hotel, right?
Yeah, no, I was bored out of my skull, to be honest, considering they shut the restaurant down at like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And I'm a night owl, so it was a little bit of a pain in the butt. But as for any experiences, no, I cannot say that I did.
Okay. So I'm a very lucid dreamer. Most nights when I go to sleep, I have tons of dreams, and I usually remember like at least one of them. And I remember going to sleep, and it was like a complete blackout. And I don't think I rolled over. I don't think I moved. I definitely did not get up in the middle of the night. And it was just like a complete blackout. And the weird thing is my husband had the same exact experience. So I thought that was odd. And I heard from other people who were there that they had some odd experiences that night as well.
What night was that?
That was Saturday night.
What did I do there? Oh, let's see. I was hanging out with Olaf Phillips, James Goodall, Brad Bunt, and whoever else was. No, the Saturday night was the dinner party. So that was the gathering at the private gathering there. So yeah, I was with Michael Schratt. It was like the who's who of people around there.
Was that the night of the private dinner party?
Yes.
Yeah. With the live entertainment?
Yes. Yes, that was fun.
I went in there for a little while. That was fun. So that was really strange. And then I met with Steve, Dr. Lear's guy.
Right.
Who does the implants, and learned that I actually had some. So that was...
so you do have aliens.
So that was eye-opening. And then I told you I had an experience here at home. I forget, I think it was in August. And that's when I started recording my room at night with an infrared camera. And I found that it's like an orb highway. And I had the footage analyzed. And I was told that there were, they could see like certain beings in the orbs. So I thought that was really fascinating. And what I've learned about orbs since then is that, they're basically consciousness. I mean, I knew that they were spirits, but what was new to me was that you can have like a whole collection, like a collective of consciousness in one orb. So it doesn't, even though it's one orb, it doesn't mean it's like one being. It could be, 50 beings in an orb.
Cheri, I want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Absolute blast to have you. We are going to do this again. I will make it up to you, I promise you. But in the time being, tell everybody where they can find your website and your YouTube channel.
Yes, thank you, Dave. So we didn't get to talk about the Ascension sessions, but I do have a YouTube channel called the Ascension Sessions, and I interview people on the topic of ascension, consciousness, contact, all kinds of woo-woo stuff. So please check that out. Please subscribe. And then for healing sessions, please go to my website, CheriArellano.com. That's CheriArellano.com. And you can learn more about me there or book a session, and you can check out my crystal jewelry and my essential oil elixirs as well that I make as additional healing tools.
Right on.
And I'm on all the social media, so just look for my name.
Much love, Cheri. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Really appreciate it. We're going to take this to the top of the hour. We're just going to chat away. Got some work to do, and we're going to have some fun here in the final half hour. Thank you, Cheri Arellano. Love you. You take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Thanks to everyone in the chat room as well.
Good job, Cheri.
Thank you, Dave. That was fun. I can't believe how fast it went.
We're gonna get, because tonight was a little bit of a snafu. I'm going to get Corrence, the booking guy, to get a hold of you and probably look to bring you on in April or May. Okay.
Okay.
I'll make it up to you, and we'll go through the Ascension sessions, get more into contact, and get more into stories. When I have a night like this, I get a little rattled. So with the tech stuff. So I apologize to you for that, and but I will make it up to you, my friend.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And say hi to that handsome Mark for me.
Okay, will do. And if Corey's still listening, yes, you can put my email address in the chat. It's just Cheri@CheriArellano.com.
Yes. Cheri. Why don't you roll the R's in your first name?
That would be like a nightmare. Cheri Arellano.
Cheri Arellano.
I should start saying it that way on my YouTube
You
show.
totally should. You totally
that would
should.
Be hilarious.
Yes. Well, we love you, my friend, and you stay awesome. And we'll just hang out, and I'll make it up to you. Okay.
Okay, sounds good, Dave.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for having me on. You take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye.
So, what I'm doing right now is we're not going to do a newscast tonight. I'm just rattled, okay? I know Shirky Poo worked really hard on getting the news together, but this whole tech snafu earlier tonight just kind of threw me off. But I do want to remind you that we will get back to normal for tomorrow, and it'll be good. It'll be really good. And we'll have some, we'll kind of get things going. So what we're going to do in the next half hour here, we are going to, I'm going to be chatting with you guys and editing a show here. I am going to ask if you guys have any questions for me. So we're going to open up the chat rooms to you guys about anything you want to talk about. Well, almost everything and anything. You know the subject lines that I will not get into. But we can open it up. And you guys just put your questions in capital letters and ask away anything you want to know. And we'll get into it. We'll have some fun with it. And that'll take us to the top of the hour as, we got another 30 minutes here to fill. And like I said, in the meantime, I'm going to be editing because I have to get a full show out to the radio stations for play for tomorrow. And we will be able to make things happen properly. So that's kind of where we're going to go. All right. So if you're in our YouTube channel, make sure you go and click on that. And we'll get to your questions here momentarily. I'm just trying to speed through some of this editing so that way I don't have to worry about it and I can concentrate on you guys. Yeah. So I did get, for those of you who have ordered T-shirts, I've got all the orders but one taken care of. I just got to separate them all, and I will be mailing them out next week. Okay? I looked at the quality of the shirts that we got, and holy cow, are they awesome. And I'm wearing a new Spaced Out Radio hoodie right now with a big... see a big "We Own the Night" on the back. And they are sweet. Very sweet. And I am going to do a draw coming up here. I'm going to get some more stuff here made up here the next couple of days. And I am going to do the 10,000 person draw. All right, so you will have to be in our chat room that night in order to win. All right, I'll set a date. I'm not sure what date we're going to go with yet, but you have to be in the chat room that night in order to win, and you're going to get a package as well. So that'll be kind of cool. And for all your shopping needs, go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. You get all your swag there. All right, let's get this thing going here as we continue on here with the mighty SOR. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to take it easy this half hour, because we want to make sure that everybody is having a good time here and everybody is kind of rolling through with everything just like we are. And once again, due to that technical issue tonight before the show that really made us lose half an hour, to be absolutely blunt, I am kind of rattled by that. So let's just relax. Filth, you're going to donate a cartoon for that too. Are you going to draw that of the person? That would be kind of cool. Is that possible, Dirty Filth? Is that possible? That would be kind of cool. All right, let's get to the questions here. Greg Maloney, what are your thoughts on fighting in the NHL? We need more of it. No, that's not Greg's question. But we do need more fighting in hockey. And all you, hippie lettuce people who, not hippie lettuce, hipster people is what I was trying to say, came out the wrong way. All of you people who say that there's no need for it, never played the game. Hate that debate. Anyways, moving on. Okay, Greg's question. What are your thoughts on the recent CIA files that have been made downloadable? I really have been paying attention to that quite a bit, and I think it's exciting any time we get a release of documents. I was surprised at how many, but there was no real, in my opinion, smoking gun out there. Sightings and everything are great. What I want, and look, I love the experience, Greg. I love people telling me about their experiences and showing me, kind of what's happened to them, and I think it's phenomenal. But when it comes to something like this, I really think we need to have something not so broad. We need something that is just like boom in your face. We need one of the big cases. So there was nothing in what I've read so far, and I will say I am guilty of not reading all of them, because it's a lot of paperwork to go through. But I'll tell you what I will do, Greg. I'm going to be having a phone conversation this coming weekend with Luis Elizondo. And what I will do is I will pose that question to him for you. Okay? Are you good with that? Would that work for you? It works for me. I will find out for you. How about that? Terrible Times. Dave, are you the mastermind behind SOR, or did you have to audition? Yeah, I got convinced to do the show from a friend of mine named Johnny Enoch, who coincidentally supports another show now. I don't know why, but anyways. So he on October 2nd, 2014, Johnny came over to my house, and he's like, dude, we got to get you back on the radio. And I'm like, nah, dude, it's done. I'm over, and all this kind of stuff. He's like, no, man, it's got to happen. And I'm like, no, dude. And he's like, yeah, man. And I finally went, okay, we can make it happen. And so that's what ended up happening. And And anyways, so I ended up starting it all, building it all. Johnny helped lay the foundation, but it's literally been mine since day one. And, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed when it comes to, or the sharpest tool in the shed when it comes to the technical side of everything. I'm actually quite, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm dumb when it comes to it. And I hate to use that term because I hate the terms dumb and stupid. But, I pushed my limits with it. And that's pretty much it. So everything that we've accomplished today has been homegrown. And I am very, very proud about that. All right, Corin says, oh, shoot, this jumped again. Justin wants to know, how far are you from your gifting site? The two of them, I'm about, from my house, driving about 12 miles from one, and about 20, another 20 miles from that. So about 30 miles from the other one. So that's kind of where I am on that. And at this time, with the way the roads are, they're not plowed in that area, so it'd be very difficult. So now I got to wait for the snow to melt. All right, Fabster. An attractive female Bigfoot wants to procreate with you, Dave. Do you take the brunette or the blondish one? Redhead. Always redhead. Always redhead, Fabster. And the funny thing is, back in my single days, I always had a crush on redheads. Always. And I've never, ever in my life dated a redhead. Not that I'll get the opportunity. I'm saying a natural redhead, not somebody who's dyed their hair red. Okay? But a natural redhead, never dated one. Never. All right. Rock Lobster, Dave, do ghosts wear underpants? I don't know. I don't think they would if they didn't have to. But then again, if they are dressed, would they have underpants on? In their timeline, were there underpants? That's an interesting question. I don't know. Persevere, do you think the Pacific Rim movie was referencing something real? In the last 6 years, we have had UFO attacks, sightings, false fires, and overall damage done to the Pacific coastlines. I don't believe a lot of those conspiratorial movies, especially when it comes to forest fires, because I have experienced that firsthand, and it is very real. It is very scary. And when you have a natural disaster like that, that can create its own weather pattern, it is absolutely freaky. And when you're breathing in that much smoke and you're breathing in that much toxins like I did when I got stuck up here, anybody who tries to say that, they're shooting beams from the sky to start these, I think they're full of it, and they need to give their head a good shaking. So we haven't had any UFO attacks that we know of, that there's actual proof of it. I'm always wary. Look, I like entertainment too, but the thing that I would suggest with movies like this, even though they can seem very convincing with the way their words are or who they interview in their documentary fashion, always be careful of that kind of woo, because we can really go down a real dark path and lose ourselves very, very quickly into what reality really is. So that's my opinion of it. Troy, any plans to go out with friends and look for Bigfoot anytime this year? Yes, as soon as the snow melts, my friend. Lexi, who is my dream guest? Right now, if I could interview anybody, I would interview my dream guest, Sammy Hagar. Not that I'm a big Van Halen fan or a big Sammy Hagar fan. I am a fan, don't get me wrong. Okay, but I really, really want to talk to him about his alien encounters. I really do. That just absolutely blows me away, considering he's written songs on the topic underneath the noses of almost every musical critic and fan out there, and they don't even know. He's very open about it. I just think it would be fantastic if I could interview anyone about this subject. In this field, eventually they'll come around. Like, I'm going to be having a phone conversation with Luis Elizondo this weekend about scheduling a date with him for the show. So, I mean, in this field, eventually they come around. The TV stars, I have no interest in. At first when I broke into this, I really wanted to talk to all those TV people. But now, no. It's nice for the prestige, but in reality, it doesn't. If I were to choose someone that I could interview from this realm, it would be Robert Bigelow. That would be my dream. I would love to interview him. That'll probably never happen, though. Oh, let's see here. Next question. Hold on, the chat room jumped again. All right. By the way, Miss Pickles, thank you so much for that amazing super chat. Again, I appreciate it. You're amazing. Drink the pickle juice, not the bong juice. Okay, got it. The hell? And, all right. Rock Lobster. Dave, have you ever come across a three-toed print? I have not. I have seen them, though. My buddy Mike, who lives around here, he actually has a three-toed print, but it almost looks like if you were to take a chicken claw and then expand it to about, yay big? Yeah. It's insane. Absolutely insane. Dave, if you could interview a dead person, who would it be? Dead person. Has to be just one? I don't know. That one's difficult. That one is very difficult. I mean, I know who I would love to have a conversation with, but I mean, that's a little sappy. I would love to talk with my nephew again. I would love to talk with my grandparents again. I think anybody would give that. That's for sure. That can be an emotional question. Dirty Filth, would you do a special with Steve Isdall? Absolutely. It would not be on the regular radio show because of the swearing, and he is a potty mouth, but I really appreciate his genuine thoughts on it, and I would do a Saturday night special with him. That is for sure. For sure I would. I think it would be fantastic. I really do. Let's see here. Next question. Scrolling on down. Raul. Dave, would you... Oh, I already answered that one. What is my scariest experience? There's been a couple. I've never had a real scary paranormal experience. I have had I don't even know why I have my headphones on. I have, it was probably the one time that I was taken, and I'll never finish that story publicly. And it's just, I'm mad about it. I'm very, very mad about it. And I will get that little mother of pearl when I get the opportunity. I already told him I'm coming back. No, I did not get anal probed, because that's the first thing everybody will ask, and the answer to that is no. Just there were some things that happened that I was very conscious of that I will get payback. And, one part of that example would be when I had my head, I was laying on my stomach, and I had my head pinned down. I didn't like that. Didn't like that at all. PBR, have you ever seen, or how many Bigfoot, nope, wrong question. Hold on, where is it here? Have you seen Bigfoot footprints? I have seen two. One was about 18 inches by 9 inches. The other one was about 15 inches by 5.5, 6 inches. They were two different sizes. They were about 150, 200 feet apart, and in the middle of nowhere of the forest. And when you see something that big, it's really, really cool. Right? Yeah, sorry. Dirty Filth, yeah, we could do anything that you want, man. We could do anything that you want. That works for me. So, yes, I have seen footprints, but only two of them. Let's see here. Next question. How many Bigfoot do you think live in North America? I don't think it's thousands. I don't know. See, I'm still up in the air whether or not Bigfoot is a real, like a flesh and blood type creature. So I don't know how to answer that question. Okay, Raul, tell us a fight story. Okay. My first year playing in this senior men's league, we were about a third of the way through the season. And okay, yeah. Yeah, we were about a third of the way through the season, and I was playing defense, and this guy came on me, and he kind of went around me at the blue line, and I dove down to the ice to try and knock the puck off his stick, and I slashed him and shattered my stick on this one. You still use wood sticks, and I shattered my stick on his legs. And I took a penalty for that, for slashing. It was a good call. They scored on the power play. I come back on the ice, retake my shift with my defensive partner, and off the face-off, he grabs the puck again, and the puck is offside. And as the puck is offside, he comes up and he kind of elbows me in the chin, or cross-checks me in the chin with his stick, and he goes for a penalty. So I'm on the ice. This is only like 7 seconds after the face-off. I'm on the ice, and I'm pissed off. And the penalty box is on the other side of the ice. And we puck drops, and play goes into the other end. I'm more interested in this idiot, who's a big guy, very big guy. And I'm yelling at him in the penalty box, and he's like, shut up. All of a sudden I hear the whistle. I look down the ice into their end, into the corner, and there's a line brawl that's broken out. And I'm looking, and everybody's already partnered off, and the linesman has one guy, and he's holding on to him. And I kind of grab him, give him a couple of shots. The guy looks at me. He's like, dude, I don't fight. I'm not going to fight you. I'm like, okay, not a problem. And so I skate over to the penalty box. And in the meantime, there's 4 fights going on the ice. And I skate over to the penalty box, and I look at the guy, and I'm like, dude, keep your bloody stick down, man. Like, you almost took my teeth out. He takes his stick out of the penalty box, puts it about this far from my face, and he goes, get the F out of here, otherwise I'm going to cut your face off. So I took my stick and I swung it at his head. You know, I didn't hit him. And I said, come on out. Let's do this. We're going to go. He goes, why don't you come in? So I said, okay. So I threw my gloves up kind of in his face, and I jumped over the boards, and I was on the ice side. He's on the penalty box side, and we started fighting right in between the boards. And I beat him up pretty good. It was awesome. It was awesome. I didn't get messed with after that. So thanks for that wonderful memory. No, I was not hurt. I think I busted his nose, which was kind of cool. But no, I wasn't hurt, and it was a lot of fun. And unfortunately, that can't happen now because every rink has plexiglass on the penalty box side of the boards now. But I would do it again. Sure I would. Why not? That's what hockey's all about. You know? If you can't do that, you know, you can't scrap every now and again. You end up looking like the NHL or Tom Rennie's dream, and Tom Rennie should be fired. And he needs to go away. And that's what I think. That's what I completely think. And so, yeah. We're going to just get ready to stop the one feed here in a few seconds. Well, in a minute or so. And then we're going to continue on here because I got to get this all downloaded. Or uploaded. I always get uploaded and downloaded confused. Anyways, back to regular scheduled programming tomorrow. Joey Hayes asking, do you think that we will ever get full disclosure? Depends on your age. I think the 35-year-old and up crowd will never get it. We'll get confirmation. I don't think we would ever... I don't think we'll get disclosure. That's my opinion. But they will eventually disclose to the younger generation. So like when my son, who's 7 now, when he's probably in his mid-30s to 40s, there could be a disclosure happening then. Or in his 50s, there could be a disclosure happening then. Because the younger generations, as they find their own spiritual value and connection, I think that's what's going to happen. So I don't think we'll get it, but I do believe we will see confirmation within the next 10 to 20 years. Let's see here. You know what? We're just going to say, give me 2 seconds here, YouTube. On our Spreaker side and our radio side, thank you so much for listening on in. We really do appreciate that. You can find us at spacedoutradio.com. Remember, we own the night. See you tomorrow.
The thing about comparing rates at Progressive.com is that by now you've heard a lot of ads about comparing rates at Progressive.com. We probably don't even need the words comparing rates anymore to remind you that seasoning steaks at Progressive.com is an easy way to save on car insurance, or that swimming in trousers helps you find the lowest rate. And that's the thing about foraging for truffles. You've heard a lot of ads about standing tiptoe on a cinder block. Compare rates and sing softly to a wounded field mouse and save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
Does the perfect family meal exist? We think so. With 9 pieces of crispy, battered, and breaded Popeye's chicken, add in your choice of 2 large mouth-watering sides, and top it all off with 4 buttery, flaky biscuits. All for just $19.99. Yep, you heard that right. Just $19.99. That sounds like a perfect family meal to us. So what are you waiting for? Get your Popeyes 9-piece family bundle today. Limited time and select U.S. restaurants. Price participation will vary. In-restaurant only. Tax may apply.
Love that chicken from Popeyes.